They seriously wanted to flood the middle of Australia, not with rain, with an actual ocean, salt water, boats, harbors, even sea life. And this wasn't some sci-fi fantasy, it almost happened. This is the insane, real-life story of Australia's forgotten plan to create an inland ocean, and how close it came to changing the entire continent forever. Okay, pause for a second. Take a mental image of Australia. What do you see? Golden beaches, koalas, maybe the Sydney Opera House, right? But now imagine this. Instead of a dry, red outback in the middle, there's water. A massive blue ocean, cutting straight through the desert. Sounds crazy, right? Well, for over 100 years, scientists, engineers, politicians, even military leaders have proposed, planned, and pushed for a radical idea: to flood the heart of Australia by tapping into the sea and turning the desert into a thriving inland sea. This is the story of bold dreams, wild science, ancient land, and why this ambitious ocean project could have either saved the country or destroyed it. Let's be real for a second. Australia has a problem, a big one. 80% of the population lives near the coast. Why? Because the middle of the country is practically uninhabitable. The outback is dry, dusty, and in many places, deadly. Temperatures can hit over 50 degrees Celsius, 122 degrees Fahrenheit. Freshwater is scarce, farming is brutal, and towns? They're often hundreds of kilometers apart. So, the question is, how do you make use of all that empty land? How do you make it livable, or at least valuable? And here's where the crazy idea came in. What if you just flooded it? 1. The first man to dream big, Henry Winchell. The idea of an inland sea wasn't new, even back in the 1800s. In fact, early European explorers were convinced there already was one. They called it the inland sea myth. People believed that somewhere beyond the Blue Mountains was a huge, unexplored ocean just waiting to be found. But there wasn't. What they found was dry, cracked earth and desert stretching for days. Still, the idea stuck. In 1883, an American geologist named Henry Winchell proposed something radical. Dig a massive canal from the southern coast, right through the desert, and let the sea rush in. Where? Into Lake Eyre. 2. Lake Eyre, the perfect target. Let's talk about Lake Eyre for a sec. It's Australia's lowest point, 15 meters below sea level. And when it does flood naturally, which is rare, it becomes this massive, otherworldly lake full of life. Birds migrate. Fish appear out of nowhere. It's like a miracle in the desert. So imagine this. If you connected Lake Eyre to the ocean, you could flood it permanently. That was the theory, but digging a canal 700 kilometers long through harsh desert, that's not just hard, it's near impossible with 1800s technology. So the idea died down, until someone else picked it up again. 3. World War strategies, the inland navy. Fast forward to World War II, Australia was vulnerable. Japanese forces were advancing across the Pacific. Suddenly the government needed new ideas. Fast. A secure inland waterway could serve as a hidden naval base, store fresh water in emergency reserves, support inland agriculture to keep cities fed, and once again, the idea to create an ocean in the middle of the country came back. Top secret military proposals were drafted, engineers got to work, maps were drawn, but just like before, too expensive, too risky. The war ended and so did the plan. Or so people thought. 4. The 20th century. Hype. Wild science takes over. In the 1950s and 60s, a new generation of scientists brought the dream back in style. They weren't just talking about canals anymore. Now, they were dreaming up explosives, nuclear-powered drills, and saltwater pipelines. Some even proposed using atomic bombs to blast massive craters in the desert that would naturally fill with seawater. Yeah, not even joking. It was part of a global movement called geological engineering or terraforming. The idea? Humans could reshape the Earth like clay, and Australia would be the canvas. At one point they proposed Project Iron Boomerang, which would link massive mining operations in the outback with new ports created by this artificial sea. Billions of dollars were estimated, thousands of jobs imagined, tourism, fishing, shipping, it all seemed possible. But then, reality hit. 5. The problems piled up. Turns out, turning a desert into an ocean is really, really complicated. Here's why. Evaporation. The heat would cause most of the water to vanish fast, like insanely fast. Salt buildup. A saltwater lake in the middle of a dry basin would leave behind thick salt crust that ruined the soil. Ecosystem collapse. Native plants, animals, even underground aquifers could be destroyed. Cultural impact. The land targeted, especially around Lake Eyre, is sacred Aboriginal land. Forcing seawater into it could erase 60,000 years of history. Costs. We're talking tens of billions of dollars with no guarantee it would even work, so once again, the idea was shelved. 6. Modern twists. Is it still possible? You'd think this whole plan would have died by now, right? Nope. Believe it or not, some people still push for it. In recent years, engineers and even startup companies have looked at new technologies that might make an inland ocean more doable. Desalination plants along the coast could make seawater more usable. Renewable energy, like solar and wind, could power the pumps needed to move water inland. Underground pipeline boring could make canals easier to dig. One group even proposed a series of connected artificial lakes instead of one big ocean, like a stepping stone sea. And with climate change, more people are asking, if we're losing land to the sea in some countries, why not bring the sea to the land somewhere else? 7. The dreamers versus the realists. At this point, there are two camps. Camp 1, the dreamers. They say this project could change the game. Revive dying towns, bring water and jobs inland, turn a dead desert into a blue wonder. Camp 2, the realists. They say it's a fantasy, too risky, too expensive, too dangerous for the environment. Both sides have valid points, but one thing's clear, this idea refuses to die. Here's the wildest part. In 2009, Australia faced one of its worst droughts in history. Entire towns ran out of water, rivers dried up. Guess what proposal suddenly landed on the Prime Minister's desk? Yup, the Inland Sea Project. Once again, desperate times brought back the impossible dream. A 200-page report was drawn up. Satellite maps were analyzed, and for a brief moment, it looked like the plan was back. But in the end, the project was scrapped. Again. Still, the fact that it came that close? Chilling. So, could Australia one day have an ocean in the middle? Maybe, maybe not. But what this story shows is how far humans are willing to go to reshape the world. The Inland Sea Project is part science, part fantasy, part desperation. It's about survival, ambition, and sometimes, just not wanting to let go of a wild dream. Because sometimes the biggest ideas never really die. They just wait for the right moment. If you enjoy our journey, please like and subscribe to our channel, and if you like our content and want to support me, you are welcome to buy me a coffee. The link is in the description box below.